Everybody, welcome back to another episode of DFS Fantasy NASCAR Picks. I'm Russell Mega 31. Got the race at Gateway World Wide Technology in St. Louis, so should be fun there. There's a couple programming notes. I did do an NFL video with McKinley. I used to do baseball coverage with me, so I think that went pretty well, and that's up on the channel. We're also covering college football, so if you're in a state that can play that, then check us out. That's a good resource for that. Pete Cole and some others have been in that room and having a good time and having some good success. And we're still covering baseball, and Charlie's still killing it in soccer. So it's international league break, and then EPL picks up again next weekend. So lots of cool things going on. So if you want to get into our Discord and get our course and stuff, then you can sign up. Just go to the description video, go to our website, and you can able to go to our pricing page and can play every sport for as low as $6 a day. And it's like I think it's really reasonable pricing. So, anyways, we have that. Um, so just really appreciate everybody watching the videos this season. And now that NFL is kicking off, FanDuel is hardly even worth playing anymore with the price pools there, especially in GPP. And it seems like Cup is still not bad. Hopefully, it stays that way through the playoffs um, and doesn't fade out with the NFL. So last week, kind of boring race at which because Southern 500 is one of my favorite races, and like I said, I was watching some YouTube videos of some old ones, and I can't remember which one, and I'm so sad because I was watching it, um, and I wasn't signed into YouTube, so I can't go back and search and figure out which race it was to send you to watch it. But it was really boring when like a car just goes out there and just like leads all these like laps, and there's like no chance to pass them or any drama or anything. So I watched a race from the 70s. I'll just tell you this really quick, and if you just fast forward like 3 minutes if you don't want to hear it, I'm sorry. But like racing was so cool in the old days. It was like in the 70s, and a car like spun out and its back hit the wall and destroyed it. So they had to tow it to the pit. So it's sitting there and they're talking about interviewing it. Meanwhile, a teammate comes in with the pit like a couple away from it and pulls up and just blew an engine. So back then, like they would like rip an engine out of a car and put it in there. So the one teammate's engine is perfectly fine. The back of the car is destroyed, and this one needs a new engine. Driver gets out. They pop the hood. They start taking the engine out of the one and moving it over to the other one. Driver's sitting there. Meanwhile, Richard Petty comes speeding in, hops out of his car, stumbling around like he went 3 rounds with Tyson in the late '80s when Tyson was a good boxer and collapses. So they run over. It's like over 100 degrees on the asphalt. It's like 125 or something like that. Everybody's like dying of heat exhaustion. So they rush over. They take his helmet off. One of the crew guys grabs his helmet, pops it on, hops in the car, and takes off. And the NASCAR official like, "Yo, you can't do that." So the crew guy brings the car back, and the driver that was sitting there waiting for the engine said, like, "Hey, I'll drive Richard's car." So I said, "Sure." He hops in and takes off and drives. Well, Richard's getting medical attention. The IV kicks in. He pops up, rips everything out, goes like, "Where's my car?" And they're like, "Well, he's out. He blew his engine and he took it and he's out there racing with it." So Richard's like, "Is his car ready?" And like, "Yeah." So when he comes back in, we're like, "No." Richard grabs his helmet and jumps into that other guy's car and heads out on the track. And then they have a pit stop and they both come in at the same time. It's like a Chinese fire drill. They both hop out, get back into the original cars. Like Richard passed the other guy on the back, and then they hop in, and they're like replacing radiators in this race. And other drivers are having heat exhaustion, and guys that are out of the race just randomly jump in cars. And if the guy's fine, they bring the car back, and the original car will get back in. Can you imagine if they did that in today's NASCAR? It would be so cool. And it was just so neat to see like when racing was racing, when stock cars were the ones that you would buy from the showroom and take it and soup it up and take it out to the track and see what you could do. And some of the original Southern 500s had 75, 83 cars in it. Not only like 20 of them would actually finish and only a couple on the lead lap. It was definitely a race of attrition. But I don't know what NASCAR can do. I get it, safety and everything to try to make it competitive and a fair playing field so anybody could enter a car and have a chance to win. But I think it's just kind of really watering things down. So okay, sorry. Enough of a rant. Let's get into the breakdown here. Okay, so you're gonna see colors on the left hand side. Uh Briscoe's blue because he won a race, he's automatically advancing to the next round. And they're almost grouped into like groups of four. So Briscoe, Larson, Hamlin, and Tyler Reddick should have enough points, even if they have bad race in the next two, to still be able to survive in advance. The next group down is Chastain, Blaney, Byron, and Bubba. They're about 20 to 25 points above the cut line. Should be safe, but not really guaranteed. Bell, Cindric, Van Gisbergen, and Elliott are right above the cut line, but not by much. And then below the cut line, after pretty bad races last week, Barry, Logano, Austin Dillon, and Alex Bowman. So that's what you got. I do kind of fear that if some of these ones that are down below the cut line, if somebody struggles above the cut line, that they sometimes just become more conservative, especially in a track where it's like it's gonna be hard to get track position. So you're going to see three names in blue there. You're going to see Larson, Eric Jones, and Kozlowski. It's a Toyota, a Chevy, and a Ford. Each one of these was invited over the summer to do a testing of a new tire here. It's the same tire, I believe, that they use in Iowa, which is a similar track. This is not a short flat. This is like an intermediate kind of flat track, but they're semi-comparable. And so they kind of have an advantage being able to get a feel for this tire and running some laps on it. And dominator wise, it's hard to pass the leader here. Mostly a two dominator race, sometimes three. Hopefully, it's not a one dominator race like last week. I mean, we had like more people like lead laps, but like obviously, one person had the lion's share of it. So I'm calling a one dom race. And the first stage is kind of short, so I don't even know if they'll hit if there's not any cautions there. So you're gonna have to have good pit stops. You're gonna have to hold your track position once you get it because it's hard to pass the leader and to make it up here. And so that's what we got. So let's look into the breakdown. And the creams are risen. A lot of the good drivers are up on top. 10 lap averages are there, and the ones that have the X next to them, sometimes like 10 lap averages. Sometimes they don't come back really good because they're trying to run out there like longer on older tires. They're coming in for adjustments. So it's take it with a grain of salt. It helps, but it's not the like unfallible word of God, is what I'm trying to say. So Hamlin is usually good on these types of tracks. He was okay in practice, didn't have a lot of good fall off or long run speed. I'm gonna put him as a GPP play. Like he's always been good at these tracks, but I've just seen the practice speed just kind of concerns me a little bit. I'd rather pay up for one of the other probably besides Briscoe 10K guys. But I think if you want to start in cash, like I start with Larson. Now, there's a case for Larson, case against him. Larson's always been good at these types of tracks, and he should dominate. But Larson really hasn't been leading many laps since like earlier on the season. He's had a lot of bad luck recently. He just hasn't had the speed. Now he did have some good fall off in practice. Um, he did test the tire. And I mean, last week, if people are looking at him and thinking, like, is he starting to fade away like Keselowski and Kyle Busch is the mojo gone? Um, then I don't know like what to tell you. It's a hard one here because it's kind of fear of missing out when you have a really good driver and a really good team and really good equipment with really good track history of similar tracks and everything that should be able to go out there and be a very dominant driver. But it's like, is it the fear of missing out that you want to play him, or is it is it a logical play? But I'll let you make the decision there. That's why I never put any primes up here, but I think that he could be played in cash, and I think he'll have some high ownership. Briscoe playing with house money here, um, but his practice times weren't anything really impressive. I think people look at his current form and play him, but other than like last week and maybe one or two other races, there have been a lot of races, probably in the last 10, where he's qualified really, really well, won some poles, but then he falls back. And there's really I mean, he has the incentive only to win here because he doesn't have to. I mean, playoff points, everything definitely do help for the next rounds, but he's definitely in the next round, but they could help propel him even further. So I don't know how he's going to approach the race. I didn't like the speed, so he's going to be GPP for me. Justine, this is really not a great track for him. He was in the top 20 and 10 lap average, but didn't have great fall off. Probably I like the price point, but probably going to be a fade. Maybe a FanDuel play if you find something there that you want to play. Blaney really like here, like super dominant last year. If he didn't run out of gas, he would have definitely won the race. Um, so nothing but good things to say here. He's safe, but not completely safe. But I think that he will race for the win and not worry about like just trying to point his way into the next round. That's not usually how they play it. They always have really good long run speed. It's a great track that really suits his driving style. Fourth and 10th lap average. All things point to this is another really good play. If you probably want at least two dominators up here. So if you don't want like Hamlin, you got a little bit more and want to got a little bit of place differential. If he does get up front, you can get like four extra points there. Then definitely somebody I like. Byron, I was gonna give him the purple one out here also, but I only usually do three. And Bell was just so much better last year here. But Byron has been good on these types of tracks. GPP, borderline cash, 12th, and he did definitely was probably one of the top three cars in fall off. So I'm good if you want to play him as a primary dominator and mix him in. I think it's really for me it's going to come down to probably playing two of Larson, Blaney, Byron, and Bell. Um, and then if you're expanding into like more of a GPP, throwing in Hamlin and maybe a Reddick. But that's where I'm really looking up top to start my lineup. So it was a tough decision. I gave him the GPP tag, but I think he's definitely cash viable. Reddick didn't really have the great fall off in practice. GPP for me, and he's kind of safe here too. So I don't know how that's going to play into things. Bell is definitely not safe. Bell needs to make up, and I think that his way of making up is not like trying to get a bunch of points, but trying to get up there and lead, dominate, and actually try to win the race. And I think he definitely has potential to do it. But if you think that he's going to be too conservative because he's too close to the cut line, and you'd rather play Byron and save yourself $800 to use for other salary, perfectly fine with that too. Cindric won the race last year. Has always had good fall off. Didn't look great, but didn't look bad in practice here. So I'm going to give him the 100K. I think he's a perfect fit for that lineup. Zane Smith had some speed up here. The fall off wasn't great, but the launch speed was good. And at 5,600, I don't know if he can stay in the top 10, maybe the top 15, top 20. So he might lose you some place differential, but 56, he's not super expensive. So I think he's okay for GPP. Busher really didn't have speed in practice. Again, like RFK is notorious for testing different things during races for when they're out of the playoffs for the next year. And I think that might be the case here just because he should have been better. Like he qualified well, and it seemed like he had good short run speed, but long run speed was very questionable. So I don't think that I'm going to be having any Busher, but I don't want to put it through. I think he's GPP. Very thinking playing cash here. He's always been solid on these types of tracks. Uh, Fall off was okay. I think no red flags, no green flags. We're just kind of in the middle here. And I think that for a cash play, if like place differential or finishing position's hard and track position's hard to maintain, I think he's able to do it. And I think that he can maybe get into the top 10. So he's solid for cash. Logano, I almost put a fade on him here at 9K, way too expensive. Um, just been a disaster with speed. He was a disappointment like last week. That's why he's like, and I think he's might need to go for stage points. He's one that can always pull a rabbit out of his hat, and his crew chief does something nobody else does, and it works out. And he ends up winning races and championships because of it. But it doesn't happen as often um, as you'd want it to. So if it does, then that's definitely makes it a GPP play because it has the upside, but it doesn't have any floor at all. So I'm not playing him in cash. Oh, Bubba, this is a great track. Also, 11th, fall off was decent, and I think there's some upside there. So I think you can safely play him in cash. Austin Dillon, I don't know, like they were really struggling with how the car was set up in practice. It looked bad. I mean, qualified 15th is respectable, but I think he's going backwards, so fade for me. Eric Jones tested the tire 6,500. Um, and has been running pretty well recently and runs pretty well on tracks like this. So give him the cash. AJ Allmendinger, GPP, just nothing really pops or nothing really um, concerns me here. So with that type of driver, I don't feel he's got the floor for cash. I really don't think he's got a ton of upside. Didn't feel he was a fade like Van Gisbergen, but I think he's GPP. I know he's a GPP. Van Gisbergen, not his type of track. He's it's just kind of trying to hang on and make sure that they advance so they can get to the road courses. Because after this is Bristol, so I mean that's a short track. So he's just got to be able to let the others make mistakes and stay in that top 16, and then you have like a Roval in the next round with a chance to win that and to move on to the final um, round. Not the final, but the the next round, or maybe the Rovals. I don't know. I was looking at the Xfinity one. Anyways, there's road courses coming up, um, at least one that I know of. So I think that's the plan there. So it's kind of scary for to play him at all at DFS. Elliott really like here, but Elliott always has really good fall off. Probably one of the best ones out there. Eighth and 10 lap average. Love the price at 88. I think it definitely moves up in the top 15, probably the top 10. Solid cash play here, probably pretty popular. Gunnar and Nemechek's kind of there. Top 10 in 10 lap average. Fall off wasn't bad, wasn't great. Kind of last man in, fine, but probably not playing much. Ty Gibbs, I didn't want to put a prime on him again here. I just, that wasn't super disappointing, but I just think that you'd see like his practice and it has speed and so much upside, but then when it comes to the race, just can't put it together. And maybe it is my fear of missing out that I just keep on thinking that I should be playing him. I'll let you make the decision. I didn't put the prime on it to force you to play him. I'll let you decide if you put him in your builds or not. Kyle Busch has always been super good here and dominant here, but just hasn't in the last couple of years. And the RCR, like he said somewhere, I read it on X, I believe that his setup was the same as Austin Dillon's. The reason being is that if they don't know how they want to make an adjustment, they're going to call Kyle to the pit, try the adjustment, see how Kyle thinks it goes before they make it on Austin, who's in the playoffs. Um, so, I mean, that's going to go on through the course of the race, but they can't completely keep on changing Bush's car to match Austin so they can go through this process. Eventually, you think they're just going to give him what he needs to go out there and try to be competitive and win the race. But obviously, it wasn't working in practice and qualifying. So I okay with him in the 100K one because just of his history, I think he can overcome a lot of that. And Kyle Busch is one that over time is able to go out there and tell you like what he needs and what adjustments he wants and get the car dialed in better. And if that happens, then I think he's got a bunch of upside, and that's why he's got the 100K tag. Kozlowski is going to be the first prime here, number one in 10 lap average, probably about top five in fall off here. And he tested the tire. And it seems like all the other ones that are doing testing is like leading to him because he's like the owner, which makes sense. To just go out there and try to win races and finish the season strong. So I think he's got tremendous upside there. Grigson at GPP here. 10 lap average was pretty good here. Fall off was decent. So you just got to avoid trouble and keep the car on the track. Bowman, I think, has Suarez and Hocevar all here. Suarez is probably $1,000 cheaper than all of them and probably lower owned, but I think all three of these are solid cash plays. Um, None of them really stuck, um, stood out during practice and qualifying, but I think that if you look at all of them, they have floor. They're starting farther back here. I know. Um, I don't think they're going to go laps down. I think they're far enough ahead of everybody to be able to stay up there and to advance with some of these other drivers. I think are going to struggle. Kosovar is like kind of a wild card here. Same thing as Gregson can. checkers or wreckers. So I think Suarez and Bowman are definitely Bowman's fighting to stay. I'm sorry, in the playoffs, and Suarez is trying to get a ride for next year. McDowell, I'm going to put a prime here. Great fall off in practice, third best in 10 lap average. Love the price. And I think that he didn't do well like right off the gate, but he got faster and faster as time went on. So that's why like he qualified down here. And the same thing with Priest. That's why they're both the prime plays. I know they're 1,000 apart, but it seemed like both of them, neither one had like great launch speed. But as the the practice went, the times got better and better. The fall off was like really, really good for both these cars. So that's why I put him as primes down here. Tester, I think you can play in cash. He did have some speed in practice. Only thing to worry about is they signed with Chevy. They're going to get with Hendricks again in engines and reignite that fire from a couple years ago. So I don't know how much support Ford's going to give them, or if the Ford teams have figured out anything on this track. They're not going to radio it and relay it to them because you're kind of like they're not the enemy now, but they're not part of the team. So why should they really help them out when they're abandoning them? Gilliland is still a Ford, and he's always been good on tracks like this. And uh, even though he wasn't top 20 in 10 lap average, the fall off was pretty good. And I think you can play him in cash. He's solid down here. Haley has really run well in the races here and similar tracks. And I think he's got a lot of upside. A little bit more expensive down here than some of the rest of the ones, besides like trees who like look really good with the fall off in practice. Like I said, so I think you can play him in the 100K one. Crips GPP. Probably if you're punting down here, and not taking like Stenhouse, he's the one that I would like. Dylan was just really slow. Cody Ware is was this is a horrible track for him. Stenhouse, 17th. I think he has some upside, just didn't qualify well. Um, and I think it'll be popular, but I like McDowell and Priest better. So that's why they got the prime tags, but Stenhouse is definitely in play. And if you want to play like a bunch of ones down here, then the more drivers so you can get in up top, they're in the high 9 and 10K range. So we got for you. If you have any questions, put them in the chat below. Hit me on Mega31 on Twitter/X. If you want more information on DFS, like I said, go to the description of the video and you can get to our pricing page to subscribe, but also you can to our Discord. There's a free NASCAR pool. Didn't get to Xfinity and like with NFL and these busy weeks in the fall, I might not get as many videos out, especially if they're speculation ones and I don't have enough data to really do something. So, what I always do there is if you go into our Discord and join the NASCAR pool uh, room, it's free. Will post a sheet in there. I'll post the primes after I take care of our paying customers and answer all their questions. Then sometimes 15, 20 minutes before lock, I'll try to get as much information out to the people in that room. It's just a thank you for watching these videos. And you guys have been amazing. Um, most weeks are about 1,000 views. I'm sorry, last week the video got cut in half. That was just a weird thing that happened. So, but if your videos help, you can help us back. Like, subscribe to the channel, share with your friends. Check out the other ones. Charlie does soccer ones. We're doing NFL ones, and just appreciate your support and viewership all around. So, thanks for watching. Good luck in your contest. We'll see you next week for Bristol. There's all three series going. I'll do as many videos as I can, but I'll definitely have a top one. So. Have an amazing weekend. I'll see you next time.